Welcome to Earthwork Echoes. Today we are at the forest edge, where a mill's next repair begins as a standing tree. Quiet work, heavy wood, and a lot that can go wrong. By the end, this oak will become a 4.5-meter axle blank for a water wheel. But first, it has to fall clean, cut true, and survive a road that wants to break carts in half. One bad moment, and the perfect log turns into firewood. You can see the saw curve already started, straight, deliberate, and deep enough to matter. This oak is old, hard, and unusually clean of knots, the kind of trunk that makes a miller pause. The blade bites, the fibers rasp, and the cut begins to close as the weight of the tree leans back down. Now comes the part that decides everything, controlling the fall. Wedges go into the saw cut to keep the gap open and to persuade the trunk toward the chosen side. If the kerf pinches, the saw binds. If the tree twists, it can split on the way down. Tap by tap, the wedges hold the line. You can almost feel the pressure building in the wood, quiet, stubborn, patient. Then the sound changes, a small crack, a deeper groan, and the trunk starts to commit. When it finally drops, it's not dramatic, it's final. 200 years meets the ground in one heavy thud. But the mill doesn't need a whole tree. It needs a specific piece that can be turned straight and strong. So the measuring starts at the base, 4.5 meters marked out, checked, and marked again. This next cut is where many logs get ruined. If it tears, the end can check, and the future axle is already weakened. Wedges keep the new kerf breathing while the saw works through. And when the section separates, you can see the relief, because now the right piece exists. Everything after this is logistics. First, the log has to reach the forest road. Horses take the load, and you watch the method. short pulls, pauses, and corrections. The trunk catches on a root, so they rock it loose, right, left, until it frees with a sharp jerk. Rollers slide underneath, and suddenly the weight stops fighting. Old tricks, simple tools, huge difference. On the road, they bring in the log cart, the kind some farmers call the devil's cart. Its heavy curved axle is pushed along the log, then a hook drops at the back. Chain the trunk at the balance point, and it hangs between the wheels, swinging just enough to remind you what it weighs. The thick end gets chained to the drawbar, and the driver tightens everything like he's tying down a storm. Here's the twist: the oak is too much for the old cart. After a short run, one wheel fails. A sudden tilt, a stop that's too abrupt, and everyone goes still for a second, because a shifting load doesn't give warnings twice. So Plan B arrives, a four-wheeled farm cart with a brake, meant for the steep mill road. They position it low, pull the log alongside, and start the careful rebuild. Wheels come off and lay flat. Axles sit onto hubs, so the bolts rest clean in the bushings. Nothing is forced, because forced parts fail later. The log is pulled up with chain and leverage, bit by bit. Stakes go back in for safety. Long bars lift at the axle boxes, and the wheels are set back on one after another. Listen for it, that solid seated clunk when metal finds home. That's a small payoff you can trust. Chains and crowbars lock the trunk down for travel. The miller climbs on top, part rider, part ballast, keeping the load steady where the road gets unpredictable. Then they stop again at the lip of the descent. The brakes alone won't hold this. Now comes the rough solution that works. The rear wheels are chained to the chassis so they drag. An iron brake shoe is fitted on the downhill wheel to keep it tracking. A brake chain secures the uphill side. From here, the cart doesn't roll into the valley so much as it grinds its way down, controlled by friction and nerve. This is the moment that decides whether the timber arrives whole. At the bottom, the shoe and chains come off, and the road starts crossing the stream. Each crossing is a small test: water under the wheels, stones under the horses, the load shifting with every uneven step. Then the mill opens up in the clearing. You can see the inlet channel, the wheel chamber hidden in shadow, the steady infrastructure built around moving water. Up the slope sits a small chapel, and beside it the storehouse and cellar, everything close, everything practical. Unloading is the reverse of loading, but slower. Lower the wagon, ease the log down, don't let it slam and bruise the ends. And when it finally rests on the yard, you can feel the job changing hands. The forest work is done. Now the mill master gets to turn this rough oak into a true shaft. If you like watching real skill up close, you'll enjoy what's coming next as the raw log becomes precise, round, and ready to run. Thanks for being here with Earthwork Echoes. Tap like, subscribe, and come back for more earth, wood, and honest work that earns its finish.